you like to handle roll call?
Mr. Jerkins?
Here.
Mr. Elzey?
Here.
Mr. Kerrigan?
Here.
Mr. Crease?
Here.
Mr. Linderman?
Here.
Mr. Cox?
Here.
Ms. Gardner is absent tonight.
All right, the first item on the agenda is elect a new chairperson for New Year 2023. And I know I was absent last month, so I guess we're doing that now.
Yeah, we bumped it. Have a full board.
All right.
Jack, are you willing to be chairperson?
I'll manage you.
And I nominate Jack Kerrigan to be chairperson.
I accept.
I think we have to vote. And
Second. I'll second.
Any discussion or anybody else?
So, Jack, if you want it, you're more welcome to have it, and I would also be willing to take it, so it's up to you guys.
I'll do my time, and you can certainly follow right after if you like.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, so you have a motion and a second. If you're ready to call for a vote, you can do that. Have the clerk call the roll.
Mr. Jerkins?
Yes.
Mr. Elzey?
Yes.
Mr. Crease?
Yes.
Mr. Linderman?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
All right, Todd, congratulations. It's a 75-year term. Okay. Thank you for continuing to support the board. With that, I believe we have a swearing in for you as our next item. Clerk.
Yes. You ready? You got to stand up and raise your right hand. And you have it in front of you.
I do.
Okay. And
Yes.
ready?
I do.
I state your name.
Jack Kerrigan,
Do affirm that I will support and defend
do affirm that I will support and defend
the Constitution and government of the United States and the state of Florida.
the Constitution and government of the United States and the state of Florida,
That I will support and defend the ordinances of the city of Mexico Beach.
that I will support and defend the ordinances of the city of Mexico Beach,
That I am duly qualified to hold office under the Constitution of the state
that I am duly qualified to hold office under the Constitution of the state
and the charter of the city of Mexico Beach.
and the charter of the city of Mexico Beach,
And I will well and faithfully perform
and I will well and faithfully perform
the duties of the Planning and Zoning Board of the city of Mexico Beach, Florida,
the duties of the Planning and Zoning Board of the city of Mexico Beach, Florida,
on which I'm about to enter.
on which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God. So for the minutes of the January 9th, 2023 meeting, do we need a motion to approve those?
So I move we approve the consent agenda minutes of January 9th, 2023.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second.
You could do a all in favor. You can say aye. Or you could do a roll call if you prefer. If it's consent agenda, you don't have to.
Got it. All in favor of approving the minutes of January 9th meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Minutes are approved. The next item of business on the agenda is a change of use for 4101 Highway 98. And Carly Hansen.
Sure, you could open the public discussion, and I bring up Carly Hansen from the Planning Collaborative to go over the project for you guys.
So does Carly come first to explain or public?
She's part of the public discussion, yes, sir.
Okay, so go.
Hi everyone. Thank
Hi.
you. It's good to see you all after last month. This is a application for a change of use at 4101 Highway 98. With your packet, you have the application and the change of use evaluation that I conducted. This is a request to take it from a store retail to restaurant, and we're asking the board to review the change of use application and evaluation and make a recommendation to council on your determination. But based on my report, we evaluated that this use being requested is substantially similar. And what that means based on what's in the code is that the applicant doesn't have to apply for a development order for their a commercial development order to make this change of use, if that makes sense. If they want to do any development in the future, however, they would need that development order. So this report looks at certain criteria that the code asks us to look at when making this determination. That includes trip generation rates, typical hours of operations, traffic associated with the use, noise, parking, loudspeakers, outdoor speakers, and then we also did concurrency to just ensure that this use isn't going to cause any unnoted impacts to the area. Do y'all have any specific questions on any of those points?
Should we hold those until the public has asked questions?
Yeah, it's your prerogative. You can answer just like any other person that comes up for public comment. If you had something burning you wanted to ask her, otherwise you can take public discussion and bring it back if you like.
I have a number of questions, but I think I prefer to wait until the public has spoken personally.
Okay, thank you, Carly. Okay, so we'll now invite public comment. If you would please come up to the podium, state your name and your Mexico Beach property address. Do we have anyone from the public?
My name is Ann Nicholson. I own the property at 102 42nd Street. It is Unit A, the one right on the corner. My unit is directly behind the parking lot, beside the parking lot of the proposed restaurant. My back fence is probably 6 feet from the parking lot, and I think my house is probably 20 or 25 feet from there. I owned a restaurant in the past, and I know how much noise there is with staff and customers coming in and out. I feel that for me, it would be extremely detrimental to my property value to have a restaurant with loud noises at all times of the night. If the hours are until 9, customers will be leaving. They could be leaving at 10 or after. There could be noise until 11 o'clock before the staff goes home. Do we have a guarantee that the restaurant will not stay open until midnight? Do we know that?
I don't think we know the hours, at least the hours that were here. Were these estimated hours?
They're what you got from the developer, I believe.
They're proposed from the applicant. That doesn't
Okay.
tie them to anything. So it's
Yes.
just-
So right now it says from 11 to 9, 11 in the morning. But they could stay open until midnight. It would be very detrimental. My property value would go down as far as rentals are concerned, because I don't know why anybody would want to rent or to stay there with noise going on from 11 in the morning until midnight. Also, there are great smells. Anytime there is a restaurant, they have a refuse in the back. They always have a fan that will take smells out of the kitchen. Also, I used to have a house on 31st Street for about 50 years before Michael, and there was a restaurant right next door to Marley's that used to have outside music. We were a block and a half away from there, and it still disturbed the neighborhood we were in. And what guarantee do we have that they won't pipe music outside? I just feel that because this is a residential area and there are no other, it's a residential area, I'm very concerned with the value of my property, that it will go down and that I will not, if I choose to sell because I don't want to stay there, be able to get what I paid for it. And let me see if I had anything I wanted to add. I love Mexico Beach. I've been coming here for over 60 years, and I want it to continue to be my retreat and my love. And I thank you very much for listening.
Just a question, if I could, ma'am, ask
Yes.
one. I'm just curious, how long have you owned that particular property?
That particular property, I bought it in a year and a half. I bought it in September of 21. I had the place on 31st Street. We bought it in probably 70.
I was just curious, there was a restaurant there before the hurricane. I think it was Marlin Cafe. I used to walk over there to eat from my office, but I just didn't know if you had it then.
You know, if they were a breakfast and lunch place, that would be fun. But, you know, stay
Did you say
up late at
fun?
night right at my
Did you
bedroom
say fun?
window, that's really a concern. Thank you.
Ma'am, I've got a quick question for you. So you mentioned that you think that's residential.
I'm sorry.
You mentioned you think that that's zone residential. Are you where it's tourist commercial? Is the zoning for that? And a restaurant is authorized in
I
tourist
am
commercial?
aware, but it's just surrounded
Okay.
by residences, and that's what I meant.
All right, thank you.
Anything else? Thank you.
Go ahead.
My name is Mary Lawrence. I live on 41st Street, which is a whole nother issue. I live directly across the street from this proposed restaurant. I bought my property in September of 2020, had post-hurricane, not pre-hurricane. Had no idea there had ever been a restaurant there or that there would ever be a restaurant there, and I would not have bought if I knew there was going to be. My huge issue is traffic and parking. In their proposal, they're saying 68 guests. They have 17 parking spaces and with one additional parking space for handicap. So they're assuming that's 4 people coming per vehicle. That would be 17 cars. Okay, where are your staff gonna park? They have no place for staff. And you and I all know not everybody's gonna have 4 people gonna come in a car. Parking, traffic is gonna be an issue. The smell, like she said, is gonna be an issue. We already have a rat problem in that area. I don't know if y'all know that or not, but we do. We battle the rats a lot since the hurricane is what I understand. So that's, I mean, I do not want a restaurant across the street from me. And I'm assuming they're saying 9 to 11, and she said it, 11 to 9, and she said they're not held to that. And how many days a week is that? Is that 5 days a week? Is that 7 days a week?
They didn't share that with us.
Okay, yeah, so, I mean, those are our issues. And we already have people that are going to the beach that park on the street, park in our, turn around in our driveways. It's just, it's gonna be worse. And they say that the traffic, according to their analysis, is gonna be 58 additional cars per day on 98. What, did they take into account the new apartments, the new development that's going up? I don't know, because that would be a whole lot more, I would think. So those are my,
Thank you for sharing your
I think
concerns.
I've got everything.
Do you have anybody else from the public?
Good evening, I'm Elaine Hardwick, and I actually live 116 South 37th Street. So I'm several streets away from there, but I have friends that live there. And if you've ever frequented the street, the stop sign there, the visibility is very poor because of the bridge. I mean, it's almost like you have to say a prayer when you pull out. It's already very bad. I can't believe, I don't know if there have been accidents there before, but the visibility right there is bad. And if you're bringing in a restaurant, and I am aware that there was a restaurant, it was a sandwich shop there before. I've owned property here since 2014. I've eaten breakfast. It was a breakfast sandwich sub shop. That's a whole lot different than a restaurant that's going to be open till 9 o'clock at night. And they didn't even share how many days per week. And I'm very concerned. I have a lot of questions that I think if this restaurant wants to be a good neighbor, they need to listen to the residents of Mexico Beach and answer all of the questions before this is allowed. Because I'm very concerned about the safety of not only our residents, but our tourists because of that intersection. the entrance into the restaurant is not off of 98. So I think it's a very hazardous situation that you need to consider. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Glenda Willie, and I have had property in Mexico Beach since 2002. I currently have a house on 41st Street. Along with everything that's been expressed, I totally agree with. But in reading the document, I noticed that it appeared to me that these calculations were based on 2021. And that was before we even had all of that development on the other side of the canal. And I cannot even now begin to imagine what the traffic's going to be like once we get all of those places filled. And we're right at that canal, and as they said, visibility is already poor. And I just ditto everything else that they've said. We thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public?
Yeah, I'll say something. I'm Jason Knight, my brother Johnny Knight. We own a lot. We got 2 houses, and we're directly adjacent, 101 41st Street. And I was just concerned about what is happening. Just here to listen, really, and to see what's going to happen because I'm right there.
You have the
And
vacant
noise
lot,
will be an issue.
you have the vacant lot behind them
No, I got the one on the corner.
in the corner.
Yeah, the 2 greenhouses.
Thank you.
side by side.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
Just here to listen, and I heard, as she said, property values would be an issue with it being, a late night restaurant or whatever it could be. And I'm here to listen before anything. I mean, I guess that's what this is about, so.
It is. Thank you. Anyone else from the public for this? If you'll please,
I'd just like to ask a question.
could you please just give us your name and your address first?
Absolutely. My name is Elderdale Williams. Ann Nicholson is my wife. And, but she's not the total boss. I'm just trying to
She's
get.
not laughing, but go ahead.
You see the camera, right?
I just wanted to ask, is alcohol going to be served at this establishment?
I don't know. Carly, do you know if that's,
No, I don't know. That's not a no.
That would be important to me that you might want to consider. Thank you for your time.
thank you.
Seems like they meet the requirements for beer and wine, but not alcohol, based on the capacity. But they have not determined that.
If you'd please.
I just wanted to say one thing. I live there full-time. I'm not a renter. I don't have rentals. I live at the property full-time, and there are a couple of us on the street that happen to live directly across, and so that, that's why it's even more frustrating for us. And again, property values, I'd really like to express that too, so. Thanks.
Anyone else from the public? Okay, come on up.
Michelle Miller, Oleander. I have concerns about this restaurant due to the fact that I feel like the city has just changed or ordinance specifically for this restaurant, and I don't feel like that's fair to the citizens, that you would take down the parking. This is a large building, 3,500, 30-something, over 3,000 square feet. And if you did the 100 per square foot, you would have to have a whole lot more parking than 17 parking spaces, which would make a whole lot more sense than having changed it so there's only 17 parking spaces needed for this type of building, this large of a building. So I don't know what their plan is for the other square footage in there, but I don't think that was a fair decision to make without taking the citizens' concerns into effect and what it could impact us with this particular type of situation.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? If not, this will conclude the public comment portion of this. Okay, thank you for your input. So at this point, Mr. Manager, we can turn it over to questions for the board, right?
Yeah, you're welcome to follow up with Carly, myself, or anybody like that.
Okay.
Carla, if you don't mind, can you walk me through some of the criteria? Start with the
Trip generation.
yeah, the trip generation. Is that 41st and 98? Is that, how
It's
does that
looking
work?
at the section of 98 between, oh, it's not even getting into that yet. That gets under concurrency. We're just looking at the two uses. So under transportation engineers use a transportation engineer's trip generation manual based on the use of the property. So I was comparing code 812, that's for building materials and lumber store. Recognizing that doesn't exactly fit a lumber and fence store, but it was the closest one. And then we did a high turnover sit-down restaurant. So what that does is takes the square footage of the building and then multiplies it by the trip count that it provides, that's per 1,000 square feet. The current projected trips for that store is 9.41 trips. And that is a,
Is that per day?
yes. And then the new projection trips is 58.08. The difference, which would be those new trips that this change of use is putting onto Highway 98, is 80 or 48.67
Per day.
per day.
Okay. My second question is, so,
I'm sorry, I'd like to
oh, sorry.
let me clarify a little bit. That is per day, but what this manual looks at is the peak hour. So during their busiest time of operation, that's the amount of trips they put onto the road, estimated, of course.
So, looking at 2.0, 2.05, the change of use and establishment or similar use, you have, your opinion is this is substantially similar in use, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, as I look at the criteria, it seems kind of arbitrary.
Right.
So let's go back to the trip generation. 6 times more, that seems substantial to me. Is that?
So the way that I concluded it was substantially similar is that there's nothing that this additional traffic generation does to force the building to build any new sort of development. It doesn't require new parking, it doesn't require a new building or a new entrance onto 98. There's nothing the city can ask because of those trips the developer to do, or the applicant. And so that's why I wanted to provide the concurrency evaluation in addition to that section of the code, just to further solidify that these additional trips aren't diminishing the quality of service on Highway 98. And yes, those are using 2021 counts, but that's the most recent count data we have available.
And then you have more questions, but I want to see if I understand this.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So that's 58 trips, and I know there's peak hours and slack hours, but 58 trips over a 10-hour period, or 5.8 trips per hour, about 6 trips per hour. Is that the math on that?
That is looking at the peak hour, peak directional, so that's the most trips it could generate in 1 hour of use. Is that likely? Not for a restaurant that serves 68 people, but that's what the count comes out to.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, and then the other part of this deals with equivalent in type, intensity, and degree or impact is for similarity. So hours of operation, what would be considered not similar?
Right. That's a good question.
Okay, and that's, it seems pretty, the ordinance, or the code seems kind of arbitrary as well. So I'm trying to figure out what you thought. The types of traffic. So as I look at this, it looks like more delivery vehicles, more cars coming in and out of there. And with delivery vehicles, is there representative from the applicant here, or the applicant? Okay.
Not today, I don't believe so.
So how did you compute where delivery vehicles would park, the size, how they would turn around? Is that considered in this?
This was assuming that the current business gets delivery of supplies that they use to run their retail store, and that the restaurant use would also have similar deliveries.
Yeah, so my expectation would be there'd be more deliveries.
Okay.
And a lot of times they're a type of a small semi-truck, and I'm not sure how they would turn around there. That may be true with current business. And then noise and odor. So I don't think there's really any odor from a flooring store.
Right.
But it's, I think it's been pointed out here, I would expect there would be restaurant odor, and maybe odor from the dumpster, from food being dumped into it. Is that considered in this?
It mentions the odor that is done. The code just doesn't point to the city being able to do anything while being surrounded by tourist commercial uses.
Right.
It provides buffers against tourist commercial and residential uses, but since they're tourist commercial surrounding it, those buffers aren't required any more than they are now.
All right, and then probably the same with noise, because I would expect with parking in that lot, there would be slamming doors, people talking, headlights, etc. Okay, I wasn't clear, was that parking lot gonna be lit? Is it lit?
They're not making any changes to the
Okay.
parking as of now. That's what their response is.
All right, and then, did they say they don't have any plans for outdoor seating or music? Or did they comment on that?
They said there's no plan for outdoor storage at this time, and that they're, in asking if there would be loudspeakers used, they just responded no.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other comments or questions from any member of the board?
I would just say, I think it's naive to think that you can have room for staff to staff a restaurant and then service. I just don't know how it's gonna work logistically. I mean, the numbers, just from the customers, is gonna make that parking lot crowded, in my opinion.
It's not a violation of the current.
It's not, and one thing they did mention is they have more grab-and-go style food too, but as an option, but it meets the requirement.
That was discussed 2 meetings ago about the restaurants, that all came up. And went to the council meeting, I went there too. The council voted to change it. So it was changed, because that was my big concern was the staff. Just like, even Mango Marble, somebody has to park somewhere. And you got a restaurant, you're gonna have the cooks, the owner, some other people in there. There's 17 spots. I went out there and looked at. I seen all the condos, everything that's down that street, everything was packed with cars the other day. And it was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So you're only gonna get so many cars in there with the staff. And with the seating now, it's 68,
That's their maximum.
yeah, that's the
They
maximum
didn't
right there.
comment on how many seats would be available at this restaurant. That was a calculation I did.
And the only concern I could see looking when I went down there and looked is what you brought up about trucks coming in there to deliver. It would have to be the smaller size truck to come in there. Looking at the concerns with the traffic, I can see more traffic on 98 coming, but that's a drop in the bucket compared to what was just approved on the other side of the bridge. I mean, if you look at that, you're gonna have almost 300 homes down there. So when you look at the rate of traffic on 98, what's servicing that is nothing. It's a drop in the bucket, basically. But people who live there, I can understand the hours with noise and stuff like that for a restaurant. For putting a limit on a certain hours to cut the noise down. They said no loudspeakers, but I can see the concern of that. You live anywhere in a house, you don't want to hear people out there at 11 o'clock at night or 12 o'clock at night, car doors slammed and everything else. It's tourist commercial district. That's what it was zoned for, and it's like the catch-22. To me, it's like people who live next to an airport and complain about the noise. That's kind of how I look at it.
Don't move to the tourist area if you don't like people.
That's how that area was zoned. And it's gonna be hard to even try to stop a restaurant, and all you hear is everybody wants a restaurant. That's like the big subject in Mexico Beach. I can see looking at some of the stuff here with their dumpster, with the trash and stuff like that, having some kind of thing where it's emptied more often so there's no odor, concern with the rats, and a limit on the operating hours. I could see that being a recommendation to the council, a couple of things.
Is that allowed though? I mean, can you limit something that's not violating the LDR?
That would be up to the council. That would be up to their decision. I mean, most restaurants, besides Mango Marley's, which is open late at night, most of them close around 9 or 10. That's usually their hours that start cleaning up and being done if they're serving dinner.
Anybody else?
And the conversation begins.
So I want to add something to what I've said before. So, in my opinion, we're not here to decide necessarily if a restaurant should go there or not. What we're here for is to look at the change of use, and the change of use, as you look at the land development code, the criteria requires it to be similar, and that there not be significant impacts. And I'm just going to tell you, from my point of view, and I'm not against restaurants, is that this does not meet the criteria for difference and some similarity. And so I would like to make a motion that the P&Z recommend disapproval to the City Council of the change of use request of 401 Highway 98 from a retail store to a restaurant. Our assessment is that this request does not meet 5 of the 7 evaluation criteria, being substantially similar per Land Development Code 2.02.05.
Can I share my opinion before the motion moves forward? You gotta add a comment as well. I don't know if that's appropriate, but can I do that?
It is.
Okay. I too am a resident. I live here and I understand some of the concerns, and I just wanted to comment on some of the concerns. The late night hours, my guess is that as a business person, I own a business in Mexico Beach, they will likely operate like other restaurant businesses. Mango Marley's, the time that they stay open until, Killer Seafood, the pizza place, I would imagine that they would be open until 9 or so at night. I wouldn't imagine that they would be open until midnight, but I'm not running the business. Some member from the public brought up being good neighbors, and I thought that was a great comment, and I would love to see that encouraged with whatever business goes there. But for a dumpster, our office is in the villas of Mexico Beach. We have a dumpster right beside 98, and it's in a sufficient enclosure, so that does help. Property values, I think that's really more of a question for a realtor, and you can probably pull those numbers to find out if property values are affected by Mango Marley's or Killer Seafood or the pizza location, and it is properly zoned. In my time of living here, that has been a restaurant, as I mentioned. I think it was Marlin Cafe, and almost right across the street from it was another restaurant, 40th Street Pizza, and on the other side was another restaurant, Top of the Gulf restaurant, which did stay open until later hours. So that area has seen restaurants before, and I realize there's opposition and concerns that I hope could be worked through as a good neighbor. But as a citizen of Mexico Beach, I'm in favor of it.
So I made a motion. Is there, you ask if there's a second or not?
Mr. Chair, before we make a motion, I wanted to mention that we did receive about 5 emails opposing the reason of the restaurant, the change of use. And I'm just going to read the...
Can I make a point of order, Mr. Chair? So I've made a motion. We ask if there's a second or not, and then we can further discuss the motion. So the motion's on the floor.
I just didn't know if everyone had a chance to share their input before your motion.
And I believe that the way this works is you make a motion, there's a second or not. If there's a second, then you can still discuss the motion.
Okay.
Am I correct?
So a motion has been made. Before you do vote, we need to make sure we read into record the names of the people that opposed it, like email. We'll turn it in time to make sure that those people are inside the record. But you do have a motion on the floor. Do you want to entertain a second?
Of those, all of those people are here and have stood up except for those
Yes.
two. I don't know if that's helpful to you.
Yes.
Okay, so we have
I'm sorry, go ahead.
a motion on the floor. Do we have a second for the motion on the floor?
It dies.
Motion dies due to lack of a second.
I just want to clarify, I was only smiling and laughing because I remember Top of the Gulf. There's some of us that have been here for a really long time here, so it was nothing about anything else here.
Okay.
About that. Carly, help me, one quick question with this again, that with this change of use, this is an allowable use within that
Yes.
piece of property? Thank you.
Jack, don't we need to read those in now?
I'd like to get them into the record.
Represented.
Okay, Tammy, if you would please read those in.
I received 5 emails, and 3 of those are here tonight and have already spoke. So I just wanted to mention the names of those that are not here. Arla Caldwell, and at 103A South 41st Street, and Donnie and Amy Palmer, and they are at 103C for 41st Street.
Are there any other questions of Carly?
If I could add one thing.
Okay.
So Carly is my designee related to this. It allows, the Land Development Code allows the city administrator to decide whether it meets the criteria in order to make this change, and it could be the designee. So I've hired a professional person to review it. She's given a professional opinion that she thinks it meets the requirements for the planning collaborative, and staff moves for approval. So I just want to leave it at that.
Are there any other motions?
Yeah, I'd like to move that we recommend this for approval to the council, this land use change.
Okay. There's a motion on the floor. Are there any seconds? And
You have to pass the gavel if you want to make a second.
What's that?
You have to pass the gavel if you want to make a second. And that could be to post number 1.
I will second the motion.
No,
Okay, we have a motion.
Can I make a point of clarification before you reread the motion? I believe you said
I probably said it wrong. I say it regularly wrong.
No, it was the term used, land use.
Land use change,
And it's-
change of use for that
Yes.
zoning. And I do that regularly wrong.
No, I just want to point out that this is a change of use recommendation.
So we have a motion for a change of use recommendation following the recommendation by the city manager and the planning collaborative. And we have a second for that motion. Would you like to call for a vote?
Is there any further discussion?
Or is there any further discussion? I thought we covered the discussion, but.
Well, Doug, is there, I already brought this up, reasonable for hours for the city to say, okay, you're gonna have a restaurant here, it's in where the condos are, to say 10 o'clock is closing hours for the noise abatement and,
We do have a noise ordinance that takes effect
well,
at
10
10 o'clock.
o'clock, yeah.
So that would be something the sheriff would deal with, if that need be.
But I mean, business hours of, serving food would have to stop at a certain hour. Can the city come up and say that to a restaurant owner? I know our attorney isn't here to answer that.
I can't tell them what kind of food to serve. We can't tell them, it's their business and they're going to present a plan back to us. And they've told us that they would be open until 9 at this time, so we don't have any further information. I mean, maybe part of your motion could be that they try to be a good neighbor, like you said, and operate during regular business hours, similar to the rest of the city's businesses. So that could be something you could add to your motion or amend if you want. Lee, it's it's his motion.
You good with it? And we have a second as it is, so. Thank you for your comments, and it didn't change the motion. Okay? All right, so we ask for a vote.
Okay. Mr. Jerkins,
Yes.
Mr. Elzey,
Yes.
Mr. Kerrigan,
Yes.
Mr. Crease,
No.
Mr. Lindeman.
No.
we've concluded that, this part of the meeting.
Just for educational purposes, on a personal one. So just be aware, this is an open public meeting, and you have to speak up for everybody, just so you understand what the rules of sunshine law.
Gotcha.
Okay, that's all the business that we have on the agenda, correct?
Yes, sir. This item will move forward to the city council meeting. It'll be posted on the agenda. And if there's nothing else further, you can get a motion for adjournment.
Which, will it go to the next one or the following one?
It's slated to go on to the next one on the 14th.
Is there any other updates from the city? Or
That's all I got.
okay, all you got. All right, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you all.
You just have to be really careful.